Hi, I'm Marci Kobayashi, and I'm back again with another excerpt from Finding Yoyu. And in today's excerpt, I'm sharing one of the tools that I used to help keep me grounded and sane. It's a section from the book that may actually be removed. I'm not sure yet, but I wanted to share it today because it is one of the things that helped me through some very difficult times that came up later on in the year with my mother and father-in-law and my husband. So anyway, I'll jump right in. Okasan was starting to do better in the hospital. Granted, there were a few weeks of unpleasantness when they couldn't get her to eat and couldn't find a good vein for the IV. With no other option, the doctors decided to put a feeding tube down through her nose to make sure she was getting the nutrients she needed. It looked awful. Then Okasan caught a cold and had a fever. Finally, she was well enough that they were able to do a mini surgery and install a proper feeding tube through her belly. Seeing her free from the wires and machines for the first time in months gave us hope. By the end of February, I had a fairly good routine with Okasan and Otosan and tried to push myself to work on my business again. I had a number of American institutions I was building websites for and wanted to get more. I knew I should be focused on marketing, but I had trouble focusing on anything. It felt like I was juggling 3 identities. There was a part of me that was trying to maintain my reputation and build my business. There was another huge part of me that was occupied with how to care for Okasan and Otosan. Then there was a third part of me made up of my inner world and spiritual beliefs. They all felt very separate: my work, my responsibility to family, and my spiritual beliefs. I couldn't figure out how to bridge them, so I compartmentalized. What buoyed me the most during this time wasn't my relationship with my husband, which surprised me. Instead, I turned to the Facebook group that had grown out of the business mastermind I had joined a few months before. I shared in the group what was happening, and even though we were gathered to talk business, they embraced my situation and quickly shared their stories about caring for family members. During one of the calls, our coach invited a fellow member to lead a guided meditation meant to help us connect with and receive messages from our spiritual guides. I knew communicating directly with your guide was possible. I had friends who could hear their guides speaking to them clearly. I also had friends who could see their guides. One of my mentors regularly channeled a discarnate being by leaving her body and allowing that spirit to take over. Before the meditation, I didn't expect much. It's not that I was skeptical about having a guide. I already knew my guides were around me and supported me in many ways, shapes, and forms. I regularly received messages through dreams, oracle cards, feathers, songs on the radio, animal spirits, and more. I simply didn't expect much from my guides to come directly through the meditation. Because of the time difference, the mastermind call was very early in the morning. It was still dark, and I had the lights low in the living room where I sat on the floor with my laptop. I followed along with the meditation and imagined the guides I was connecting with and what they would share with me. When we were asked to write down what the guides were telling us, I put my hands on my keyboard, closed my eyes, and started typing. I wrote each word as it filtered into my mind. I didn't really think about what it meant. I just kept typing. The meditation ended and we all said goodbye, promising to touch base again in the Facebook group. After the call finished, I went back and read what I had typed. I was expecting to find a bunch of gobbledygook and disjointed sentences. After all, I had my eyes closed while I was typing and only typed one word or phrase at a time as it appeared in my head. Instead of gobbledygook, I was surprised to find a coherent message that was free of typos. I couldn't believe it. I had been awake the whole time. I didn't feel like something had taken me over, but I also didn't remember having the whole message in my head before typing the words. I started to wonder if I had channeled the message. That seemed ridiculous. I didn't hear voices in my head, and I didn't see anything like an apparition. How could I be channeling? I was sure I had been in control the whole time. I sat there looking at the message for a while. I wondered if I could make it happen again. I started experimenting with different topics and different questions. I wasn't sure where the words were coming from, and if I thought about it too much, the words would stop. I kept at it for several days and finally got the courage to share in the mastermind group. I was so nervous. I was half hoping that they would simply give me courtesy likes. If no one commented, I would know, and then I could delete my post and forget any of this was happening. Instead, the response from the group was overwhelmingly positive, and they encouraged me to keep going. At first, I felt a surge of joy and confidence. Then I started to feel presumptuous. Who was I to be doing this kind of channeling? I didn't even know if I could call it channeling. It was probably just some part of my imagination anyway. I felt foolish and embarrassed, a little angry too. Why had I let myself share in the Facebook group? I've had people tell me that I emit strong energy and that they could see interesting energy patterns in my aura. If I put my intention to it, I could probably be a powerful healer. I think we all could. My bookshelf was filled with books by authors such as Barbara Brennan, Shakti Gawain, and of course Louise Hay. But channeling? I never thought about or wanted to be a channeler. Wasn't channeling for the truly inspired or enlightened ones, or dare I say, the crazy ones? I couldn't get over feeling presumptuous, yet I was afraid to ask anyone, even my guides who gave me the messages. Finally, one early morning in late February, I wrote, I have doubt. I still have doubt. Not in these moments of connection, because when I consider the great scheme of things, I feel it all makes sense. I feel worthy. When I re-enter the world and walk with the energies around me, I forget I am worthy. I forget how to connect. Am I really worthy? With my hands on the keyboard, I closed my eyes and the words flew through my head and out my fingers. I was confused by the number of times the word worthy came up and couldn't follow what the guides were saying until I opened my eyes and read the message. Who are you to judge what is worthy or who is worthy? Are you worthy enough to judge that you are not worthy? If so, then you are equally worthy to judge that you are worthy. Oh, I was being a judge. Being the judge was not my job. I sat there for a long time. I cried a little and laughed a little. It would be a lie to say that I never doubted myself again. I caught myself doubting over and over. However, channeling messages from my guides became a regular morning routine, and I relied on it to keep me grounded. Aside from the women in my mastermind group, I didn't know how to tell people what I was doing, so at first, I didn't. All right, that's all for today, and I look forward to sharing with you another section next week. Bye for now.